I mean, it's possible that what happens on the screen with you in Lone Ranger, playing Tonto the way you do, trying to recreate the nature of the relationship with the Lone Ranger, recreate the warrior that he was, not some second banana, so to speak.
Indeed.
You may change the ideas of young people living on Indian reservations.
That's my hope.
Really?
That's my hope. That was really all of it for me. It was the idea is that if there's some way that I can come up with a character that's interesting enough to people, to kids especially, but to people. If I get 10 kids, 20 kids off a reservation who go, you know what? I didn't listen to the elders. I want to listen to the elders. I want to keep my heritage alive. I want my culture to live on, and I want to know my language. I want my language alive. If 20 kids grab hold of that and stick it in their pockets, I'm feeling good, because that is going to multiply and multiply and multiply, and that's good.
Self-image is everything.
So I'm hoping that yeah, kids will be able to feel that. Yeah, I'm not what they've said about me for the last 200 years. I'm not lesser than. I'm a warrior, you know, and that's then I think I did my job all right.
What have kids meant for you?
Kids?
Your kids?
My kids? Everything.
What do you mean?
Everything. They've certainly made me grow up. That's for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they made me.
You mean take responsibility, or?
Well, no, just as they you know, sort of progress throughout life, you know, and my son, my boy Jack, is now 11. Yeah. My daughter CharlieRose is 14. You know, you start getting hit with some very interesting situations in life, you know, as a parent, when they approach that teenage arena, which is frightening because you still have memories of that age and the things that you might have been doing at that age. So, yeah, no, you can't.
And you lay awake thinking, God, I hope they don't do what I did.
Oh God, yeah, but please don't do what I did.
Yeah, but I mean, it really does make getting up in the morning for you.
Absolutely. No, I learn from them every day. You know, there's such wisdom in those children. In that, I mean, look at the life that they've led. My children have had to live like fugitives. You know, in a way. I mean, I'm not.
The paparazzi's there. The
paparazzi's always there. You know, my daughter goes shopping and the paparazzi are all over. You know, that's an ugly thing. If it's on me, you know, I'm not going to complain because look, I'm here in the ring. But the kids didn't ask for it, you know. But I learned from them because the way that they deal with it is, it's no big deal, Dad. You know? Don't worry about it. You know, they're so grown up about it. And while I'm raging, you know, they're like, "Don't worry, Pop." Yeah.
They're the calming influence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they got. I mean, you could explain and talk to them in you know, the split from their mother and having to come, which is always unpleasant, regardless of what happens.
Always. But they were. I mean, my kids and Vanessa, by the way. You know, I mean, it was a very sort of calm moment because we'd arrived at a place, as people do, where there's no room, when you have children, there's just no room for lies. There's no room for anything but the truth. It's not anything other than that is a bad example, I believe. So, I mean, obviously you know, there are ways to smooth things out, but I mean, we were just very truthful with them, and they were incredibly understanding, incredibly accepting, and
love you both,
and very grown up about it, and understand that there's no love lost anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just the way things. This is life. This is a part of life, and and I was extremely proud of them. You know, the way they dealt with it.
Music too. When I think of you as a guitarist, Patti Smith did that wonderful interview and said, "Wherever I go, there's a guitar."
Yeah.
Music is what you wanted to be.
It still is my life. It always was. It's just I just don't do it for a living anymore, you know. But music for sure was and it still is my first love. And it's funny because it's just been over the last couple of years where I've started to have the opportunity to play more and more, whether it's on a friend's record or you know, get invited to go and play a show with someone, do a few songs. It's all started happening in the last couple of years, and it's been a gas because it's my natural habitat, really. You know, is to have a guitar strapped to me.
Yeah, but when you played, you didn't want to be the vocalist. You wanted to be the man in the shadows.
I wanted to be, exactly. When I was, you know, playing clubs at, you know, 15, 16, 17 years old, even then I was, you know, trying to stay out of the lights. You know, tried to stay in the darkness and just play my guitar.
Now, is any of that still part of who you are, the sense of...
Most definitely.
Really?
I still, you know, the idea of being that lead singer, you know, of being the front man, to me, when you're in a group or a band, is.
So you'd rather be Keith than Mick?
I'd rather be Keith than Mick, indeed. Yeah, yeah. That's what it boils down to. No disrespect, Mick.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Exactly.
None whatsoever.
Be a good vocalist is fine with me. I just want to be back there.
Great. I can't do that. Don't want to. Yeah.
So look ahead at 50 to where the priorities are. What are they?
I think, you know, now in this, you know, if 50, let's say, you know, the start of a new decade, I think, you know, the goals are a little bit more based, maybe slightly more selfish in a sense, not selfish, but that search for a little more freedom here and there, maybe a little less work, a little more time with the kids, you know, a little more freedom, a little more time off, just more space, more ability to, breathe and not, you know, have to be the novelty.
What's interesting about you too, you work with directors more and more. I mean, how many? Tim Burton and you have done 7 or 8?
7 or 8, I think, yeah.
In this film, the director,
Gore Verbinski,
I
think it might be our fifth
or sixth, yeah.
Something like
what
that.
is that about? Just simply finding a place, a zone, a comfort?
Just, it just so happens, you know, the relationship between Tim and I, you know, over the past 20-something years has really blossomed into a kind of a very unique and interesting partnership. Though, you know, I go off and do this and he goes off and does that, we still come back together. Gore, same thing, you know. He's a masterful filmmaker, and he's not afraid to try anything. And I've never seen anyone just keep it together. He holds it all together so incredibly well under that pressure.
Patti Smith said about you, rebellious as Rochester, as loving as the Hatter, as ill-behaved as Jack Sparrow. Does that fit?
I'll take it. That's sweet of her. That's very sweet of Patti.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's, you know, there was a director I worked with one time who said, "Come on now, it's time to get serious." And I remember looking at him and saying, "Really?
Yeah. Please don't.
You're gonna turn a camera on. We're gonna go out here and like lie. We're gonna. I mean, yeah, we'll do whatever. But I mean, essentially, what this is play, isn't it? It's playtime, you know. And if we're stuck to some sort of rigid, box, then you're not going to get anything. The only way to get anything is to get out there and have a ball, you know.
I couldn't agree more. There is also this, though. I mean, when music was your first love, and then acting came, and then acting flourished. Do you have some sense now that this is what you were here to do?
I tell you, I've always had the sense that somewhere along the line, a radical turn was made, and I wasn't at the wheel necessarily, you know. from the transition from musician to actor was abrupt and confusing. You know, because you're talking about. I mean, there is something to be said about the camaraderie and the safety of a group, of a band. You know, you got 4 or 5 guys or whatever. When it's you out there on your own suddenly, and people are pointing, and you know you're not the most extroverted guy in the world. It's a real shock to the system, you know, because suddenly people are pointing at you and not the lead singer.
Exactly. But if they point at you and ask, is there a pattern here in the characters he's chosen and the values he seems to reflect, what would you say?
I'd say if there's a pattern, it's again, it's for, you know, it's an exploration of the outside, or the outsider, or what's considered the outsider, or the underdog, or the damaged, you know, and those are the things that I find interesting about people. You know, the great thing, Hunter said this a lot as well, and it's the same thing for an actor. Hunter, as a journalist, his most important sliver of his job was to observe, and at a certain point, he could no longer be the observer. He was being observed, and my whole world is about observation. You know, and watching people and learning their tics and why do they do this, and that's an interesting way to sort of phrase something, or, you know, I mean, that's I watch people constantly.
So watching him and literally living with Hunter, you understood Raoul Duke.
I sponged. I mean, I lived with Hunter in his spider-riddled, you know, gunpowder, you know, filled basement for months on end,
I know.
and I sponged him, and I told him, I am sponging. I'm sponging.
I'm soaking everything up.
I'm soaking everything up. You know.
He committed suicide at 67.
Yep.
You know, and famously left a suicide note. It is said, I didn't see it, that after 50, you know, almost as if, and I didn't understand that.
No, Hunter felt he'd lived like 30 years too long.
Yeah, 17 at least.
Yeah, he just felt that, you know,
27.
Exactly, and he was at that point, and you know, for those of us who knew him, we knew all along that would most likely be the way he would go. So it wasn't. I mean, it's always a shock, but it wasn't that much of a shock. What it was just devastation, because a whole universe was that you were connected to has been lopped off, and you know you'll never get those 3 a.m. calls anymore, and you know, or the mad, you know, driving through the hills in, you know, Aspen, you know, the tinkling of ice and scotch and madness, you know.
Yeah. Johnny, thank you. It's been great to see you.
Charlie, it's great to see you as always. I look forward to whatever.
All that we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.